Hello, everyone. This is Katana Abbott, and I want to welcome you to Smart Women Talk, where I search the world for smart women and a few good men. And this includes best-selling authors, thought leaders, and change agents who are on that leading edge. So we have topics like money, business, health, inspiration, and the metaphysical. So today I am really excited because I'm interviewing a very, very long-time friend, and she is the leading authority on women, wealth, and power. It's Barbara Huson, and she's previously known as Barbara Stanny. And we're going to talk about why women have such a hard time with money and how they can change it. We're going to talk about what is wealth, how it's created, and the 3 easy steps to get smart and even smarter about money. So before we get started, I just want to share my tip, and it comes from Kendall Summerhawk. I've taken some classes from her. She says, how we do money is how we do everything. And let me tell you, I know our guest is going to agree with that. So I want to tell you just a little bit more about Barbara because she's going to really show us. She's going to tell us about how to rewire for wealth. It's so important to work with those disempowering beliefs in our mindset so we can even deal with the money and want to look at it. So again, I told you Barbara is the leading authority on women, wealth, and power. She has been so consistent over the years. With her books. They're fantastic. I got her first book, I don't know, 20 years ago, probably. And it changed my life when I read it. And then I got to know Barbara, and I've been following her ever since. So she has a background in business. She started out as a journalist, I believe, and she's got her master's degree in psychology. So she's combining the psychology with the money. She's got extensive research when she does her book. She interviews so many people and does the research that goes with it. She also has experience on empowering women, and her experiences all give her a very, very unique perspective to help women overcome their challenges with money and stand in their personal power. So I want to share, she's a 6-time best-selling author. Her 7th book, Rewire for Wealth, is coming out in January. I can't wait to get it. I'm very excited about it. And Barbara, welcome so much thank you for coming to our show today. I'm just thrilled to have you back. You know, you've been on, I think, 3 times already.
No, and I really appreciate it. I love talking to you, Katana. So thank you for having me. This is so fun.
Yes, I think the last show we did, though, I was in Palm Springs, and I did the show from there. I think I actually, yeah, I did the show from Palm Springs. Nice. And it's when we were just launching our new theme for our easing, and we were switching over to 2 guests a month, and it's been really nice. So anyway, what I wanted to ask you is, can you tell us a little bit about your journey, your personal journey, and how you came, because you didn't wake up when you graduated from school and say, I'm going to go be a financial planner. You had a very, very unique journey that taught you even more, I believe, because you really understand what women are going through. It's not about how to invest and what to do. It's like, how do we get over these disempowering beliefs? Because I find the biggest issue is to get women to even talk about it. So can you tell us your story and how you came into your place?
Yeah, I never thought this is what I'd be doing. Seriously, not graduating college, never. So I grew up in a wealthy family, and the only advice my father ever gave me about money was don't worry. Don't worry, because under that was the unspoken assumption there'll always be a man to take care of you. And I thought that was great advice. I didn't understand money. I just wanted to spend it. And there was always a man. First, there was my father, and then there was my husband, who was a stockbroker. But what I didn't realize, but I found out very early in my marriage, is he was also a compulsive gambler. And I find this out every year, 2 or 3 or 4 times a year, that he was gambling away my inheritance. my inheritance. And here's the insane part. I continue to let him manage the money because I was so terrified, so intimidated by anything financial. Finally, after 15 years, we got a divorce. But I decided money's not my thing. I don't want to deal with money. Well, I have this theory that if you don't deal with your money will deal with you. And in the next year, I got tax bills for way over $1 million for back taxes. My ex didn't pay for illegal deals he got us in. Of course, my signature was on everything. I didn't have the money. My father wouldn't lend it to me. My ex had left the country. So I was left holding the bag. And that's when I knew I had to get smart. I had 3 daughters. One was just a baby. I was not going to raise those girls on the street. And so I started going to classes and I started reading books, and my eyes would glaze over, my brain would fog up, and I would just feel I'm terminally stupid. But I was committed. I was not going to raise my girls on the street. And I tell you, I really believe that when you are committed, like down to your toes, no backdoor committed, the universe revolves to help you reach your goal. So I was working as a journalist, and I was hired for a research project to interview women who were smart with money. And those interviews changed my life. I not only got smart about money, but I wrote my first book, Prince Charming Isn't Coming. And suddenly I had this whole new career. I was traveling the country, educating women, doing financial education for women, but I couldn't make money. So I wrote my second book. I interviewed women who made lots of money, Secrets of Six-Figure Women. And I started making 6 figures before I even finished writing that book. And then I started teaching overcoming under-earning classes to see if I could teach others what I had learned.
I went to that.
That's how we met. You came to that. And in fact, you came and I did something that I've never done before. I invited you to stay at my house. Remember that? I didn't even know you.
I know.
And you emailed and I invited you to stay at my house, and that's so fun. Yes.
I picked up the phone and called you. I stepped through my fear. Okay, something you teach. I stepped through my fear. I did the stretch, right? And I called you, and you actually answered the phone, because I heard you speaking to Ameriprise to thousands and thousands of women. And I wanted to bring you to Detroit, and that's why. But when I heard you speak and I heard you do that seminar, I said to you, I have to teach this. And you turned around and created a licensed program for advisors.
Yes.
And yes, it's so amazing.
Yes. So I owe you a lot, my dear.
So, because you were able to spread the word then and multiply yourself. That's what was so fantastic about it. You had all these little worker bees out there teaching the message, because you're just one person. Yes, you've got books and stuff, but you could only really teach one class at a time.
Well, that's not exactly right. So these worker bees kind of like fizzled out. So
pardon?
Yeah, but no, we didn't push that, and I don't have a lot of worker bees out there. And
well, I'm just saying you got your message spread that way too, which was really exciting. And I want to thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
So then you taught the overcoming under earning, and then you ended up.
And then
you wrote. Okay, go ahead.
So then, after I did overcoming under earning, and I made 6 figures for quite a long time, I woke up one night, just like straight up in bed, and I had this new goal. And this new goal was, I want to make millions, help millions, give millions. And I thought, yes, that is what I'm going to do. That's going to be my next book. And I started interviewing women who made millions. And 3 years later, I was nowhere near making millions. 2009 was the worst year I'd ever had in a long time financially. Nowhere near writing this book. And I remember I had the coach I was working with said, Barbara, you're too into doing it. You need time for just being. And it was then that I took a 4-day retreat. And I took all the transcripts of those interviews of women who made millions. And I saw something that I had missed. It wasn't so much that these women were making these outrageous sums. And I was very distracted by my desire to do the same thing. But it was how they were doing it. They were playing a very different game than the world model.
Mhm.
And I call this game Sacred Success. And that was my last book. And then then I have a new book coming out, Rewire for Wealth, which I can tell you the story of that when you want.
Yes, we'll talk about that. I came to your Sacred Success, and what I found is that the women that took that, because I stayed in touch with a lot of them, all of us that went there, I don't know if our class was special, Barbara, but I mean, all the women had these huge leaps in their lives. And in that class, you taught us to move from striving for success to moving into greatness. Can you talk about that just for a
Well,
second? I think it's so
yeah.
important.
Oh, good. I love to talk about this. Thank you. So there's three levels of financial development.
Mhm.
There's survival, there's stability, and there's affluence. Survival is not enough. Stability is just enough, and affluence is more than enough. So I thought you went from survival to stability to affluence the same way. That is not true. In order to go from survival, not enough, to stability, just enough, you have to have a profit motive. It's like you love money. Money's a good thing. You want to make money. It's wonderful to make money. But once you reach stability, you give up profit as your primary goal. Yes, it's a desired outcome. Without doubt, you want to make a profit. But it's no longer the primary goal. The primary goal to go from stability to affluence is greatness. And I
Mhm.
define greatness by paraphrasing a quote by Fred Buchner. And it's greatness is that place where your deep gladness, doing what you were put on this earth to do, meets the world's deep hunger. And that is greatness. And that is the purpose of Sacred Success.
Will you say it again? Because it blanked out just a little bit and it's so important.
Say what?
Repeat what you said about greatness, what the definition was.
Okay, greatness. I paraphrase a quote by Fred Buchner. Greatness is
Uh,
that place where your deep gladness, doing what you are put on this earth to do, meets the world's deep hunger.
mm,
That is what sacred success is all about. I define sacred success is pursuing your purpose, pursuing your soul's purpose for your own bliss and the benefit of others while being richly rewarded.
mm. Well, I want to come back and explore that a little bit more, but I think before we go into that deeper, Barbara, for those that are not familiar with you, I mean, if I didn't have this green screen behind me, I could take everyone to my bookshelf because I have all of your books. I love them. I mean, they really are special. So
Thank you.
let's talk about this idea of under earning, because I missed that part with you. And I do think it's so important to describe what is an under earner, because it's probably not the first thing that comes to mind. You really describe it in such a beautiful way.
I remember when I was having all my financial problems, I went to Karen McCall. She created Financial Recovery Institute. And she was really a pioneer in financial recovery. And I went to her because of all the stuff, the trouble my ex got me into. And she's the one who said to me, "You're an under earner." I said, "No, I'm not. I'm not an under earner. I'm a writer. Everybody knows writers don't make money." But the truth is, when I started interviewing women for my Secrets of Six-Figure Women, I interviewed 5 writers, and it's like, whoa, there went my excuse. And what I realized is an under earner is anyone who earns less than she needs or desires, despite her efforts to do otherwise.
Yeah.
It's anyone who earns less than she needs or desires, despite her efforts to do otherwise. So you can make 6 figures and be an under earner, and you can make far less and not be. I have 3 daughters. One's a farmer, one's a full-time mom. One's a farmer, and the other is a journalist.
Mhm.
And they are not under earners. They don't make much money, but they make enough to meet their needs. And
Yeah.
they're doing what feeds their soul. An under-earning is never about feeding your soul. It is always a condition of deprivation. It's not just of money, but of time, but of choices, and most of all, self-esteem.
And women seem to work so hard, and so much of it has to do with our belief system, these disempowering beliefs we have.
I believe there's three reasons why women are predominantly under earners. Men are too, but women much more so, much more so. First of all, we have a tendency to give away our skills and experience and our knowledge for free or bargain prices because we don't believe we're worth more. So the second reason is we are notoriously codependent. We put everyone else's needs before our own, and not just our families or our coworkers, but perfect strangers.
Mhm.
So every time we go to put ourselves first, every time we go to put ourselves first, we feel uncomfortable, we feel guilty, we feel bad. And the key to overcoming under earning is the willingness to be uncomfortable, the willingness to do what you don't think you can do. I ask under earners, when's the last time you did something you thought you couldn't do? And they'll scratch their head and think and think. I ask high earners the question and they laugh. And they say all the time, it's a way of life. I have what I call the high earner slogan. If it's not illegal or immoral, I just say yes.
Really?
The
Tell
key,
tell us about that. Yeah, go ahead.
because the key to going to the next level, I don't care if it's making more money or losing more weight, it always means getting out of our comfort zone, because success lies just outside our comfort zone. And so for me, every time I go to do something new, every time I go and I scare myself, I get a little panicky, I get a little scared, and I go, oh goody, that means I'm going to the next level. And high earners know that. They
Mhm.
know that the secret to upping their earnings, to going to the next level, is always outside their comfort zone.
Mhm. Wow. So what happens when we don't stretch, we don't step outside our comfort zone?
Well, basically, it all goes down to one thing: we're not happy.
Right.
We just aren't happy. There's something missing, because our soul is always pushing us to grow. Our soul is
Mhm.
pushing us to do what we're here on this planet to do. And Katana, nobody's stretched more than you that I know over the time I've known you.
Well, you know what? I think you'll love this. I remember driving downtown with my husband, and I said to him, I go, Mark, I always get butterflies when we go downtown, or when I do anything new. And I said, why would I get scared? He goes, you're not scared, you're excited. And so I said,
Mhm.
oh, you're right, because they're the same feeling, but we seem to put the negative on it, right? So now every time I get scared, and I get those butterflies and my heart's, then I go, why am I so excited? So, I mean,
That's
do you
good.
think
That's a
that's,
good reframe.
is
That's a
it?
really good reframe. That's a
Yeah.
really good reframe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I like that. That sometimes that doesn't work. And the key is to let it be okay to be afraid. I have never met one woman in the 25 years I've been doing this. And 10 years before, I was a career counselor and I wrote a book on finding jobs. I have never met one woman, when it came to work, did not have fear, but they felt the fear and they did it anyway.
yeah.
I remember this was huge for me when I was interviewing women who made six figures, and I was a chronic under earner, chronic. I saw how confident they were. But as we get deeper into the interviews, I saw how all of them struggled with fear. All of
Mhm.
them struggled with self-doubt. 90% felt like a fraud and were afraid others were going to find out. And I thought, oh my God, goodness, that's me. But the difference between them and me is they felt the fear, they felt the self-doubt, they felt like a fraud, and they did it anyway. And they didn't always succeed. They didn't always succeed at first, but every time they fell down, they got back up and they kept going.
So one of the things that you say, and I'm thinking this maybe ties into it, is the problems with money are never about the money. So is it about our beliefs, or, is that what you're leading to? I mean, because
what I realized, and I saw this when I wrote my first book, Prince Charming Isn't Coming, but I really developed my theory that I believe women's difficulties with money, making it and or managing it, has very little to do with money itself, very little. And it has to do with our fear of or ambivalence about power. And
Oh,
I remember when I first started thinking about this, I I interviewed a woman a psychologist who specialized in finances and financial issues. And I said, why do you think women are so afraid of their power? And she said something to me that gave me full body chills. She said, because powerful women have been born to the state. And I think that it is in our collective unconscious that if we are fully in our power, and I will describe what I mean in a second, if we are fully in our power, we will be punished. We will suffer. There will be backlash against us, and very often it's true. And my definition of a powerful woman is someone who knows who she is, who knows what she wants, and expresses that in the world unapologetically. So essentially, our fear of power is our fear of becoming fully who
yeah.
we are, becoming our full selves. And because we're scared, we don't want to make waves, so we water ourselves down.
And it had,
And you
all
always feel,
our life, this has
huh?
happened to us. I mean, we've had these experiences where we've been pushed down when we start to shine. I love that. This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. And I remember feeling
Yeah,
like I'm feeling snuffed out. And so I know so many women are, and people see us differently than we really feel. So we see ourselves so small, and others see us, they see us as bright and big, but we tend to see ourselves so differently. Do you agree with that?
I think that, yeah, I think women, we have been programmed, we have been conditioned to
Yeah.
keep ourselves small. But we're cheating the world of our brilliance. I really believe that the world, never before have we needed women to step into their power. I think powerful women, along with enlightened men, when we come together, we will change the world. We will
Oh,
heal this planet. And so now is the time. And really, that is what prompted me to write this, my upcoming book that's coming out in January. Something happened. Is it okay if I talk about that?
oh yeah, yeah. I would love
Okay.
to. Yeah.
So I wrote Sacred Success and it came out in 2014. And I had an amazing success with that book. And I was doing great and I was giving great retreats and something happened. The damnedest thing. I started losing interest in my work. And I started just dreading the day ahead. And this didn't make sense because this is more than a job for me. This is like my ministry. This is like my purpose to empower women financially. And finally, it was such a struggle to work. I stopped seeing clients. I stopped a lot of what I was doing. I felt like something was missing. So I went about searching for the missing piece and I couldn't find it. And I was very distressed. This is, I think, 2015. And I just surrendered and I just said, okay, God, you show me what's the missing piece. And nothing happened until one day I was just going through my email and I saw an article on neuroscience. I printed the article out. I don't know why, I didn't know anything about neuroscience, and I started reading it. And I swear, I believe something in my brain went off, lit up like a Christmas tree, and it said, this is it. This is the missing piece. And I spent years really studying neuroscience and incorporating it into my work. And I saw when we can learn how to train our mind, to rewire our brain, we will expedite the learning curve. We will expedite women's ability to learn about money and increase their confidence. Because the number one reason studies have found, the number one reason is that women don't work on creating wealth. Women avoid investing. is their lack of confidence. The lack of confidence. And the irony of this is our lack of confidence is exactly what makes us so successful in investing. Because men tend to go in investing and they trade and they make very impulsive decisions. We women, because of our lack of confidence, tend to buy and hold, which is a much better strategy. So really what I am focusing on is not just helping women reach financial stability, and that's fine, but I really want to help women create wealth. And I really want to help them rewire their brain so they can become confident wealth builders.
So tell us what that means, rewire. Is it kind of like what I said about why am I so excited rather than why am I so afraid? I mean, because you said,
that's right. Yeah, I will.
Yeah,
so
you said
what
you
I realized,
reframed it. And I heard you talking about that before. And because I don't know anything about your new book, I'm so excited.
so what I found out is what your thoughts, let me put it this, what you think, whenever you have a thought, that thought goes to your brain and it sends out these electrical chemical impulses. And that thought either deepens a current neural pathway that conforms with that thought, or it starts building a new one. And what flows through the mind sculpts the brain. And the mind and the brain are two separate entities. The mind is the source of thoughts and feelings, and the brain is made up of electrical chemical impulses. And the brain is what controls what you do, but the mind controls what's going in the brain. So rewiring is training your mind to rewire your brain for wealth and well-being and whatever else you want.
So give us an example. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
So I created, I spent years developing this, and I had lots of guinea pigs in my clients and my groups. There's 3 steps to rewire your brain.
I'm gonna write it down.
So think of one belief or one thought, one belief or one pattern, or that you want to rewire. Just think of it. Think of one belief, one thought, or one pattern you want to rewire. And okay, I'll use myself as the example. I just worked on this. I just worked on this myself. So I have this belief that I don't have what it takes. And every time I go to do something new, this belief plagues me. You don't have what it takes, and I get really, really scared. And so I just had this new project last week that I had to do. And I have never done anything like it. And I got really scared. And I heard this voice, you don't have what it takes. And I thought, oh, I need to rewire that. And so what the 3 steps to rewire, I'm going to tell you what they are, and then I'm going to show you how I rewire. They're recognize, reframe, and respond differently. And you need all 3. And it's so simple.
And
but I'll explain why it's so difficult.
Pardon?
Did it?
Yeah.
Did it. So I recognized that I was having this thought that I don't have what it takes. And recognize means you simply observe the thought or the belief, but just observe it.
Mm-hmm.
Not with judgment, not with criticism, but with curiosity. Mm-hmm. And so I noticed, oh, isn't that interesting? I'm having a thought about not having what it takes. So by saying, isn't that interesting, there's a certain detachment. I notice it with detachment. And then when I say I'm having a thought about, like I'm having a thought about, I don't have what it takes. I'm having a thought about, I need to buy that handbag. I'm having a thought about, I am not valued. I am not worthy. When you can just separate yourself from your thought and you realize that thought is a product of a wired brain, then you go into the second step, which is reframe. Reframe is to see the situation differently. Like your husband said to you, You're not scared, you're excited. They're just two sides of the same coin. And so for me, when I saw, okay, I I recognize that I'm having this thought that I don't have what it takes. I know where that came from. I know exactly where that came from my father when I was little, and that's been wired in my brain. So how can I reframe that? And there's many, many, many ways to reframe it. I kind of played around with it. Like, I have what it takes, but that didn't feel right. And then it came to me, I can handle this. I can handle it. Whatever it is, I can handle it. And I made a post-it note that I keep I kept my computer, and it says, I can handle this. So every time I get scared, I would reframe. I would replace that thought, I don't have what it takes, with I can handle this. And then I respond differently and respond differently. Normally, if I think I don't have what it takes, I stop. So responding differently means to do what you wouldn't normally do, which means I kept going. I kept writing the script. I kept writing the emails. I kept doing that. It could mean just looking in the mirror and saying, Barbara, you have what it takes, but responding differently. And when you can do this over and over again, because the key is repetition, that's how you rewire your brain.
So every time we have a thought like that, we can just, and I wrote it down, recognize, but and look at it from outside, kind of like observe it as a thought, right?
Yes, yes. Like you're an outside observer. Like you do this out of body thing. Oh, Barbara, you're having a thought. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
How can I see this differently? How can I see this differently? And then I'm going to respond. And what happens is it weakens those old neural pathways that are determining your behavior, and it starts strengthening new ones. So it takes repeating that process over and over again for weeks and months until it gets easier and easier. Because in the beginning, it is so freaking hard. Because that wired neural pathway is like, has this gravitational pull. It'll suck you back in. It'll just suck you back in.
Yeah.
And so you have to, and plus, you're also going through a withdrawal from the chemicals that have been released in your brain. Because every thought releases a chemical. It could be an uncomfortable chemical like cortisol, or dopamine makes you feel really good. And sometimes these thoughts have a whole bunch of chemicals that are being released. And when you go to do something different, it's like going through detox.
So when we reframe, I'm getting this feeling that you just talked about the chemicals, like, so I'm driving downtown and I'm getting the cortisol, for example, maybe. And then when I change it to, well, I'm just excited, then perhaps then I start getting the dopamine or the positive hormones coming to help encourage me or have that actually happen.
Yes. So imagine that.
Okay.
All these chemicals if you would personify these chemicals, they're like little ditch stickers. So when you have the chemical, I don't know exactly what neurotransmitters are released, but those neurotransmitters, they have these little shovels and they keep digging that neural pathway deeper. But you change the thought, and you change the thoughts, you change the chemicals and the electrical impulses, and they start digging brand new neural pathways with the new thought, with the new belief.
And then the last step was to respond differently. So then when we get a different result, then we go, yes, I like that. I'm going to go there again.
And you keep doing it over and over because you have to keep weakening the old neural pathways while strengthening the new ones. And this can be really,
No, and I remember you talked about years ago in some of your other books, you already had this in your mind because you said something about memory as a muscle, and the more you have these experiences, the stronger it gets. And it was about stretching or something. So you already knew this, but you had to go do all the research. That's why I said you are like one of the best research people.
So I knew from my very first book, Prince Charming Isn't Coming, that the difference, what I found is these women who were savvy, I interviewed women who were savvy about money, women who were smart about money. And it wasn't what they did, it was how they thought. That was the difference. And when I shifted my thinking, everything changed. But it took me so long to start shifting my thinking till my behavior changed. And then what I realized is when I understood expediting that process by understanding neuroscience, it speeded everything up. And I see it in my own life. When I put those neuroscientific principles in there, along with psychology and spirituality, and combine it with personal finance, it makes a huge difference.
So with the rewiring, because you've seen, it seems like there's been all these steps you've taken, each time the book is like another step up. So now we're at this, what kind of, because you've been practicing it before you wrote this book, right? What kind of breakthroughs have people told you that they have experienced? Like, have they actually, because like one of the things, why is it that the women don't want to deal with the money? It's like they'll do everything else. In fact, there was one study that I think it was 60 or 80% of the women who have a financial advisor haven't even called or gone there because they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to deal with it. It was a Merrill Lynch study, I think. And so it's this fear we have. But
I remember speaking to Harvard MBA graduates. Okay. Harvard MBA women graduates who most of them were amazingly successful. And they were scared to talk to their financial advisor. They were embarrassed to show them how negligent they had been with their money. Mm-hmm. There is a huge stigma. There's a huge stigma, and there's about talking about money. And we don't do it in our secrecy and silence that keeps us stuck, mm-hmm. which is why I do what I do. And you probably do what you do, but it's why I do what I do. I want to create safe places where we can talk about money. And for women, it's not just about money. I think the financial industry has done a great disservice to women. Because for women, the subject of money is very emotional. I remember years ago, after Prince Charming came out, so it was maybe about 15 years ago, I had a pollster who was doing this very, very large survey on women for a big financial firm. And he was going to, and so he wanted to pick my brain, and we talked, and he had just come from his first focus group. And I said, well, what did you think? It was a focus group with women. He said, oh my God, this is so emotional for women. It's like, it was a surprise to him. Yes, but for the financial industry, emotions are touchy-feely. Like, they don't want to touch it. They don't want to get near it. That's the soft side of finances. And we need to talk about our emotions as much as we need to talk about the practical. To me, getting smart about money is a four-pronged process. It's the outer work of wealth, the inner work of wealth, the higher work of wealth, and the deeper work of wealth. And it's a combination of those that gets women past their fear and their resistance. And the outer work of wealth, it's how to tell the difference between a stock and a bond, and make sure you have the right plan for retirement, negotiating the raise, all that stuff.
Right.
But when we get stuck and we can't figure that out, we need the inner work of wealth, which is our attitudes and decisions and beliefs we made about ourselves and money that may be holding us back. But even then, for women, once we have enough food, enough money to put food on the table, a roof over our head, once we are stable or wobbly stable, mm-hmm. we are not motivated by money, by and large. What motivates us is to help others, is to make a difference, is to make a contribution. So the higher work of wealth is understanding that we are all on this planet for a purpose. And when we can understand we can use money, you don't need to like money. Make money and use it to make a difference in the world, to help those you love, to help causes you're passionate about. That's what motivates women. Mm-hmm. And the fourth is what I call the deeper or the neuronal level, is is engaging your brain and changing your brain structure. So it's easier to act because our brain controls our behavior.
And just to have it as a habit, create it as a new habit. So do you have some tips that women can use to get smart about money and to engage and start taking charge of their finances? Because how does someone get started?
So I'll tell you what I did, and I still do to this day. What I realized after lots of struggle is it's small steps consistently taken that lead to remarkable results. If you do these three things for like 3 months, you will see an amazing difference. Every day, read something about money. Even if it's just for 1 or 2 minutes, even if it's just perusing the headlines of the business section of the paper, even if it's just standing in line at the market and picking up Money magazine instead of People and leafing through it, even if it's going to bed at night and reading 1 paragraph or 3 sentences, because I call it the osmosis school of learning. We can just pick it up by osmosis. So every day, read something about money. Every week, talk about money. Have a conversation, which goes with what you were saying. Have a conversation about money, preferably with someone that knows more than you, because it is by not talking about it that we keep stuck. And so what I started doing is anybody who was anywhere smart about money, I would say, can I pick your brain? How did you get smart? What did you do? Tell me about the mistakes you made. What should I be reading? Any advice you have for me? And we would just have these discussions that were just profound. And people love to talk. So every day read, every month talk, every week talk, and every month automatically take money from your checking account, your payroll check, and put it in a savings account. And because what you don't miss, what you don't see, and savings is how you create wealth. Wealth doesn't come from what you do or what you earn. Wealth doesn't come from what you earn. It comes from what you save.
Yeah.
So every day read, every week talk, and every month save. And you'll be amazed in 3 or 4 months.
And let's talk about that, because so many people are more concerned about making more. And really, they don't have to go make more. So tell us how someone does that, because how do they shift that mindset?
Well, here's the thing. There's such a confusion between profit and wealth. I say that all the time with the women I work with. I tend to work with successful high earners. And they are so focused on their earnings, and yet they have nothing to show for it.
Right.
So what was the question?
Well, isn't that funny? I was going to add, well, I can't even remember now. That just went whoosh.
Okay.
Like
So what wealth doesn't come from what you earn. Wealth,
right. It was that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll give you an example.
It's not what you. It's not what you earn. It's what you do with it. And I want to understand how to actually implement that. Do people have to spend less, or what is it they have to do to change that?
Here's the 3 rules of wealth building.
Okay.
You spend less, you save more, you invest wisely. You spend less than you have, you save more than you need, and you invest wisely in assets that will grow faster than inflation and taxes take it away. Okay. I interviewed a woman, my book, Secrets of Six-Figure Women, and this was in the year 2000. She made $700 and some thousand a year. And she said to me, she was an executive in the movie industry in LA. And she said to me, Barbara, I feel 1 step away from a refrigerator curtain on the street. I said, how is that possible? She said, my biggest investment were Hughes and Neiman Marcus. And this woman was in her 50s, nearing retirement. And she had this belief that someone somewhere was just going to come along and save her. And that's a very, very scary place to be. The good news is it's never too late to start. Never, ever. So you spend less, you save more, build up an emergency saving, and you invest. You put your money, if it's all in cash, that may seem safe, but you and I both know that's called what I call the illusion of safety, but that money is shrinking like a wool sweater in a hot dryer. So what it can buy now, in 10 years from now, it will not be able to buy. So that's the key, is spend less, save more, invest wisely. And the whole purpose of that is so you can at some point give generously without jeopardizing your future security.
Yeah, and you know, the spending less, I think, is very, very hard, because you get this, you know, emotion. You said something about you know, that purse. In fact, I went and I bought a Brighton purse. It was, you know, it was like so nice, but I had that feeling come up, you know, but it was okay for me to go and do it. But when we have that,
There's
pardon?
nothing wrong with spending if you could. There's nothing wrong with spending nice
Right,
things if you can afford it. It's when you can't afford it and you're
right.
buying things because you're spending money to fill a hole in your soul that objects never will.
Mm-mm.
Yes. As my mentor, Karen McCall, said to me, you can never get enough of what you don't really need. And so much of the work I do as a financial therapist is helping women close the hole in their soul and find what they really need.
Yeah. It is so important. So tell us some of the ways that that women can engage with you right now. Now we've got your book coming out. Tell us about that, and then how they can, if you have events coming up. And I know we've got COVID going on, so you can't do your retreats and that type of thing. But what have you got going on, and how can the ladies engage you?
So I have this is a dream of mine. About a year and a half ago, my dream was always to have a safe place where women could come together and we could form a tribe of women who talk openly and candidly about money and grow and educate and learn and create wealth. And so I have a a wonderful online community called the Wealth Connection. And I invite everybody, they can go to my website, Barbara-Huson, Huson.com, and go to my program, what is it, coaching, and you can see. And so this is a wonderful community where we have group coaching twice a month, where experts come on every month, where we have a book club where we study, where I have a master class, which I'm going to do. My first one is going to be Rewire. And we have a very, very robust Facebook group where we talk about money, the inner, the outer, the higher, the deeper.
You know, there's so many home study courses out there, but there's not that many that actually offer the hands-on, the coaching. And it's not just from you, because I've been there. I've been in your group, and it's wonderful. And so there's actual support from other women, and I think part of that is that when we're afraid and we see others are sharing their challenges and their successes, then we feel like we can do it, because you don't have to do this alone, Barbara. It's so important to have a guide.
You can't do it alone. I mean, you can, but we women are so relationship oriented, much more so than men.
Mm-hmm.
In the Emory University did a study that they found that women's brains, a certain part of their brains, lit up when they could learn about finances within a group of other women. And I remember reading that years ago and thinking, that's what I want. And so I've always done groups, but I've never done an ongoing group like this.
Yeah.
And I feel very blessed to be able to do
So
this.
you like doing it, because I mean, you've been doing your live Monday, monthly. What was it? Monday monthlies.
I
Monthly
haven't done
Money
that in a
Mondays.
long time.
Well,
Yeah,
but you did it consistently. This is the thing, and you kept doing it,
for
and it
years. Yeah.
grew and it grew and it grew amazingly. And because you created this network now, you've been able to just add so much more value, because you had things separate before. Because I remember you had your book classes, and I did take that course that you had. I think when you did, maybe it was Overcoming Under Earning, when the book came out. And I went through that class, and wow, how fabulous to do that in a group rather than do it on your own. I mean, so you get excited. Who are you going to talk to? With your group, you actually, do you give them a buddy, or they just work with people in the Facebook group?
It's a very much of a group experience. Now,
Yeah.
they do form relationships, and they do have their little side groups sometimes,
Yeah.
but it's very much of a group. It's we're all growing together, and people are all at different levels. But it's so interesting to hear someone who is at a higher level when you talk, and then someone's at a lower level that you could boost up. And for
Yeah.
me, my success came, my financial success came when I had role models. It was by interviewing the women in the books I wrote that showed me it was possible. And that's what I want to do, is to give women role models. And it's working. And I invite
Well,
anyone who's interested, just check it out, barbara-houston.com.
Barbara-Houston.com, and it's called Wealth Connection. And I'm
So,
going to say one other thing, that I suggest everyone who's listening get on your mailing list, because you send out weekly words of wisdom, and they're short. So often you get an email and it goes on and on and on. And you know what, Barbara, it's something that I actually read, every single one of them.
oh, thank you.
Because you
I
don't have to
also have,
scoot it over. Pardon? You don't have to
I
scoot
also have
it
on my
into a
website.
folder.
Yeah,
Pardon?
thank
We
you.
keep
That makes me feel
interrupting,
so
but I'm
good.
just saying, you don't have to scoot it into a folder to read later or flag it,
Yeah.
because it's short. Okay, I've got 30 seconds here. You can whip through it.
And
And then I've actually commented too, because they
you
do
have.
inspire you.
And I also have a free ebook. If you go on my website, it's called The Rewire Response. And it really gives you the rewire formula.
Yeah.
And so it's brand new, it's free.
Okay. Well, you've got your book launch coming up. What do you have planned for that?
Well, actually, the book's open for it's on pre-sale now. It's on Amazon. It's on all the sites. It's open for pre-sale. But doing podcasts like this and
Yeah.
putting the word out and hoping that people buy it.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Because normally, did you ever go on book tours with, going out physically on book tours and
Oh,
before?
there's no book tours now. There's
No.
no book tour. Yeah,
So this is
I
this
used
is your
to,
book
but
tour.
yeah, this is my book tour. Thank you. You are providing me my book tour. So
Yes,
I thank you,
because
Katana.
I've had you on for every single one of your books.
You have, and I so appreciate it. You have no
Yeah.
idea.
Well, I would love to share you. So, okay, so we're at the top of our hour. We did the full hour here. And would you love to share just one last tip? I know you have so many tips inside of you, but how would you like to leave our ladies? And then
I'm going to leave it where I started. This is not about money. This is about power. This is about you stepping up and becoming the powerful woman you were born to be. And it's really, I believe that financial success is not just a practical experience. It is a spiritual practice. It is a rite of passage to our power.
oh, beautiful. Thank you so much. And this is your
Thank
ministry.
you.
So, and I love having you here. So thank you for sharing your time. Okay.
Thank you, honey. Thank you so
You're
much.
welcome. So everyone, we're at the end of the hour now, and I want to invite you to come to joinsmartwomen.com. And when you do, you'll know who's on the show. You'll get our monthly easing, and you'll also get access to the Smart Women's Academy. So thank you so much for being here today, and go out and live with more purpose, passion, and prosperity.